This is the Roger Orozco Show.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. The star, of course, Ashton. Ashton, say hi, everybody. Yes. Okay, guys, New Year's Day special. Got the Rat Man back there. New Year's Day special. The top 15 political bullshit in Selma's politics this year. And we're going to start with the school board, and in no specific order, just the top 15 BS of the year. We'll start with new school board member, Mrs. Dorte. She took, there was campaign contributions from a union, the teachers union, to Mrs. Dorte. It looks like $2,750. So it seems like now, in my personal opinion, she will become beholden to the union. Once anybody gives you money, you should always say no, because then you're going to feel the pressure of doing what they want. So it's a it's a kitty. So it's a really bad deal that Mrs. Dorte accepted that money from the union. Real bad deal. Number two, Mr. Sahota, he took money from he took campaign contributions. Same thing with Dorte. I meant to say campaign contribution. Sahota took campaign contributions from two unions. It looks like what I found online. The Teachers Association, $23.68, 53 cents, and then something called PACE Committee, which is a classified union committee. It's $1,300. Mr. Sahota has campaign contributions, and I think it's important to note that Mr. Sahota was on the board when last year's horrendous money that was being spent. You had stepping columns, salary schedule movement anywhere from 1 to 9% for the teachers union, and then there was a 7-1 raise, 7% plus a 1% retro, I believe, and then a 4% bonus. And then after all that, they signed a 3-year deal this year for 9% plus some extra money, and that's after fighting over 1% because they said they didn't have any money, and then they found money. And then, according to a couple board members, they didn't know where the money came from. Or for one board member, and the other one didn't answer me. Mr. Fedor never answered back with my questions I had for him. So they signed a 3-year deal, not even knowing where the future money is going to come from. But all that after Measure L passes. Remember, the property tax, Measure L, to help the schools. All this money was given away. So these unions made out really, really good these last 2 years. And guess what? Mr. Sahota now has campaign contributions from these unions. So it looks a little funny. So anyway, that's number 2. Number 3, Doug Kessler was the treasurer for Mr. Sahota. Mr. Kessler's wife, Mrs. Kessler, is a school board member. And you okay with it? And Mr. Kessler, the treasurer for Mr. Sahota, it looks like he even gave $100 is what it looks like on the forms I was looking at. So you have school board member's husband being the treasurer of another school board member. Looking pretty funny, guys. That's number 3. Number 4, remember, no specific order. Number 4, we had 3 board members this year during the campaign season. 3 members, Mrs. Kessler, Mr. Sahota, and Mr. Fedor. Ashton, can you please stay away from the cat? Sorry, guys. Those 3 were at a meeting that wasn't, I don't want to say it was a secret meeting, but it was, special guest only, I guess you could say, where those 3 board members met and were there promoting the new school board member that won the election this year, Mrs. Dorte, but they were promoting her or supporting her over a sitting board member, which is Mrs. Alanis. And anyway, that's a really big deal because that's totally disgusting, and it looks like they were all in cahoots to try to unseat Mrs. Alanis. And ironically, Mrs. Alanis, it was the only one that didn't support all that money that was given away last year. She wanted more for our kids. So anyway, that's number 4. Number 5, the 3-year deal by the board. I had talked about that with Mr. Soto. They signed a 3-year deal, and they didn't even know where that money came from. Mrs. Alanis was very outspoken about not knowing where that money came from after asking admin. Supposedly, it was just said that that they found some money. They didn't tell them where that money had came from, but you still had 4 board members: Mark Medina, Mrs. Kessler, Mr. Sahota, and Mr. Fedor signed that contract without knowing where the future money was going to come from. Shame on those guys, and they should be ashamed. Number 5, or wait a minute, that's 4, 5. Ash. So Ash is chasing the cat. Okay, man. Hey, I gotta get this done real quick, man. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Okay. So after they sign that 3-year deal, admin comes and asks for the Me Too. What does that mean? They want the 3-year 9%, 9%. I guess you would call it contract, or they wanted the exact same thing. Now, before they signed this 3-year deal and the Me Too with admin, before all that, they were fighting over 1% because there was no money. So it goes back to, hey, they found some money, they didn't tell them where, and then admin comes forward too. It seems like everybody's just coming for our kids' money, man, and the people that are supposed to put the brakes on it and actually advocate for more for our kids are not doing it. They're rubber stamping it. And it's horrific, guys. Totally horrific. So anyway, I'm going to take a really quick break because it looks like Ashton's getting into something. I'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. I had to stop Ash from stepping on the cat by accident, I hope. Okay, so as we continue with the top 15, I think maybe it's more, I don't even know anymore. I did this really quick, but there's a lot of BS. That's why I wanted to get this out there. So the next one, after the management Me Too, Mr. Fedor. Now, Mr. Fedor was asked questions. I sent him emails, and he has refused to answer questions. He doesn't want to put anything in writing, doesn't want anything on the record. Why? Mr. Fedor should be ashamed of himself. He can't even answer simple questions like who he works for or parents' rights. Mr. Fedor is one of the biggest, well, I'm going to say he was one of the biggest losers of this year, man, just by hiding. Going on to the next one, Mrs. Alanis. Now, Mrs. Alanis, we did an interview with her this year, several months ago, and she talked about how a member on that school board wanted her to lie to the public. And maybe it was more than one, I don't know, but at least one member wanted her to lie to the public. That's a really, really big deal. It shows you that this board's giving away a lot of money, and they don't answer questions like Mr. Fedor, and they wanted the only board member that was strong enough to say no with all this outrageous, these outrageous contracts going out. They wanted her to lie. So it all kind of ties in. You see what's kind of happening with these guys. And then, just not even 2 months ago, we get an email. I got an email. It looks like Fresno County, there was an email sent to, well, it looks like the district had received an email. And it might have been because of a Public Records Act is why we saw it. But it talks about the school district being off on some funds on the first interim, I guess. And it looks like the forecast is about $4 million difference. Anyway, I had contacted once again Mr. Fedor and asked that question. He didn't know anything about it, which is funny because school board members should have known exactly what's going on with the money. And so he never got back to me, so it looked like they were around close to $4 million. There was a $4 million difference coming into this year. I don't know because my school board member didn't know. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to email him again and try to find out. But like I said, Mr. Fedor does not answer questions. He's hiding from the truth. Let me see that, Ash. Okay, thank you, sir. So that's another one. And then as we go on, now we go on to some of the city stuff. So this year also you had a mayor who submits a complaint against the city manager, but then he doesn't even cooperate with the investigation. So he submits a complaint and doesn't cooperate. It sounds like the guy's full of shit. Mr. Robertson, the mayor, is full of shit. Okay. That's my opinion on what he did with that specific complaint. Also, there was an article where it talked about the mayor's failed demands. I guess he made demands for $5,000 to the charity of his choice for indirect contact with the city manager, if there was any indirect contact with the city manager, and also insurance until the age of 65 for his wife and himself. And then it also stated something about failure to agree could result in legal action against the city. So I think he ended up withdrawing that complaint and that demand later on, but he still had made it, according to that article. So we'll move on. Just shows you what kind of guy that is. Talks about money, but yet he's willing to take the taxpayer he was wanting, or according to the demand, for him and his wife to have insurance until the age of 65. Totally ridiculous, Mr. Robertson, Mayor. Oh, here's a big one. The police union. The police union didn't support the mayor in this election, and it was a really big deal. They were out in force everywhere, not supporting the mayor. Don't know why. I would love to know why. But the police union, our police union, did not support our mayor. Okay, Ashton just walked in. Oh, here's the other one. Chaos on city council. So the mayor calls a special meeting, and they didn't have enough people there for a quorum, and so the city attorney said that there was not, you have to have a quorum to make to have anything legal happen. So the city attorney walks out or takes off with the city the assistant city manager that was there, and I believe the clerk. The mayor didn't listen to the advice of the city attorney, and instead was taking advice from an ex-attorney that was in the audience. So he's taking advice from the ex-attorney that was in the audience, and not the city attorney at that time. Wow. So wow. Oh, and then the health board. So ironically, maybe a month and a half earlier, the health board, the mayor's sister-in-law, Mrs. Gallardo, did not make the meeting, and new city council member Jim Avalos, his wife didn't make the health board meeting. They're both on the boards, and so that meeting was canceled because they didn't have enough for a quorum. So that kind of ties into what the city was saying at that time with the city attorney, and you didn't have enough for a quorum. That was their opinion. Of course, the attorney in the audience had a different opinion, and for whatever reason, he was there. They followed his advice. And one of the last things, or the last thing that I had jotted down real quick, was new city council member Oseguera. One of the first things he mentions up there in his new seat was to drop the animal shelter lawsuit. So why I thought that one was bullshit is because this guy just gets on. He doesn't know anything internally about a lawsuit. I wouldn't think he would know anything internally. So he walks up there and he's saying, hey, let's just drop it. Maybe Mr. Oseguera, you should find out all the details internally first on what's going on before you just run up there and want to drop a lawsuit. There's a lot of issues with that animal shelter. And unfortunately, it seems like that's going to be one of the big issues is the animal shelter, man. Again, they talk more about the animals, the dogs, and I love dogs, but there's more talk at that city council about dogs than there are about our children. And I think it's pretty sad and actually ridiculous. So anyway, that was this is the New Year's Eve special. We just wanted to remind everybody of the BS that's been going on in the school board with the money and with our city council, what's going on with our city council, and just want to have fun with this video and get that information out to remind people that there's a lot of BS going on. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, man. We got to keep people informed of the stupid decisions these guys are making, especially with the money. All right, thanks.